Hi there guys, I just wanted to make a quick video comparing my favorite Ergo mice that I have, well, excluding the Death Adder V2, because now that they're not making it anymore, I'm trying to move on to other mice and get used to them. But I actually ended up sending back my second wireless version of Death Adder V3 just because it had some build quality issues I wasn't happy with. The wired one is much more solid. I haven't had those problems with it. I've gotten a much more consistent click feel and side button feel on this one, and there's no side flicks. And then the mouse feet are actually on straight on this one, which was not the case before. My only kind of gripe really is I think they use the same cable as they do for the wireless one, and it's a lot shorter, I noticed, than the Death Adder V2 cable, which is a bit of a bummer, but it's a decent cable, and I don't have any issues with it. But one of the things I was noticing, I was switching back and forth between these today, playing some Overwatch, and these all take a very different approach to their finger ledge, where these ones have kind of the rounded corner, and the Death Adder just has like a sharp edge here. And what I like about this one, so there are things I like and things I don't like about this. So what I like about the Death Adder one is you get a really consistent, comfortable feeling no matter where you put your fingers along the side here, whether you're like far up on it or back on it. Whereas something like the EC2, it kind of swoops in and then goes out again. And so if you're like tilt gripping it and your fingers go into that divot, that's really comfortable. But if you are instead kind of centering up on the mouse, like you're holding it straight and your finger was to go right on that curve, it feels a little bit odd, and I think I just need to get used to it. I don't know what else to describe it. It feels strange and not uncomfortable, but I'm just not used to it yet, probably. But I noticed on the outset, for whatever reason, I don't get that odd feeling when this finger kind of rests on this corner. It's just more comfortable for whatever reason and I think it's because it's like a more gradual straight line into the curve, whereas on the EC2 it goes in and then it kind of goes out and then it goes in again, and you can feel that with your fingers. The other thing is the outset, it's taller and it feels wider too. So sometimes even on the Death Adder V3, these fingers kind of drag on the pad sometimes, and that doesn't feel great. That doesn't really happen to me with the outset when I'm holding it, and I'm wondering what it is about the shape, how they achieve that, because here I think part of why they have this little divot here is perhaps to try to keep your fingers from doing that. But of all the ones here, I actually think it's the outset that's the most successful in keeping my hands off the pad. But the problem I have with this approach, where you have a sharp edge, at first I really liked it. At first, just because of what I was saying, where you get that really consistent feeling no matter where you rest your fingers. The problem I have run into is if you're not tilt gripping it, so that your fingers would go something like that, if you're holding it dead straight on and you have bigger hands, like you can see this finger is right on this hard edge. That is not comfortable, and I don't like it at all. I don't think that feels good when that finger, is resting right on the hard edge. I think it feels, this one feels a little odd if your finger's resting on the rounded part, but this just outright feels bad when this finger rests on the hard edge, I think. And so of these three, I gotta say it's the outset that has the most comfortable feel to me when this finger is really far forward on the right side. And I also think it does a good job, one, just having a lot of room here, and then also being wide enough and supportive enough that I'm not constantly saying, oh, I wish it was wider in the right direction in the back. And that's something I do feel like for the Death Adder V3. I wish it was wider in the right direction and that this hump was a little more pronounced. Because despite being like a larger overall shape, the actual hump width is essentially identical to the EC2. And I think I like this shape more than this one. But this one has an advantage in that, the specs are a little bit more impressive. And I think because it's a little taller at the peak point, because the front's a little bit wider, if you or someone like me that just wants an EC 1.5 desperately, very considerable. I have seen a few reviews for the wired version of this, and one of the things I am disagreeing with that I've seen other people talk about is the shell material encoding changes. I personally feel are far worse and inferior compared to the white wireless one. The white wireless one has a clearly matte shell, and it is kind of like a chalky feeling, and I love that. It's my second favorite shell material encoding, in fact, that I've used, other than something like a super light, which has that nice sort of soft touch rubberized feel. I don't like perfectly smooth plastic with a very sticky coating, like, you know, like the Zowie coating. I just don't care for it. It's not a deal breaker. Like, these are still excellent mice, but it's just not what I like personally. But other people do. So, you know, if you like it, then you like it. The Zowie mouse, you know, angling up the cable directly, I do think is still an awesome detail. But this is flexible enough that it's no big deal, and I don't think it's a deal breaker either by any means. I gotta say though, the weight reductions, this is 59 grams. The lightweight here, not worth it, I think. These are heavier, but they are so much better built, and you can just tell, you can just feel it. Like, I really feel like I could throw these into a wall and they'd be fine. This thing feels a lot more flimsy, and the wireless one's even worse. I have tried 2 wireless units, and the build quality on those was worse than this one, and each one had different problems. Like, the issues I had on my wireless unit and both the ones I tried, so I own one and then I returned one and got this one instead. Basically, one of them had the infamous side flex and a dud, and another one had like a dud side button, and you know, you get like a really inconsistent click feel on some of the units. So the weird thing, and then also on one of them, the feet were crooked that I tried, which is annoying because they're really stuck on there. So it's a bit of a pain in the butt to deal with. So I think Razer needs to sort out their QC. But I don't know. I also have a preference for the EC2 wheel and the Death Adder V2 wheel to this one, because this wheel has an odd feeling to it, and I also think it's too smooth for my liking. But there also is a difference in the encoders, and I noticed that subtly between my, you know, the various EC2-Cs I've had and the EC1-C. They have a slight difference in their encoder too, but it's mostly been very consistent, you know, roughly around an average. The wireless mouse I have has a way smoother encoder than this, where you can't even hardly feel the defined steps. And this one you can feel it more, but I think in Boardsy's video, it was the other way around, where his wired one had a smoother encoder, so maybe I'm misremembering there, but it just seems like there's a lot of variation on the line. I still like this detail where they angle up the buttons. That's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm having a really good experience with this one, actually. And man, they need to release a, you know, an Outset 2. That's what I want. Give me an Outset 2. And you know why the short length hasn't been bothering me as much anymore? Just because it all comes down to how you hold it. If you're, you know, if you're holding it really far forward so your fingers come off the end, then yeah, that's a problem. But if you're more like fingertip gripping it off the back, and you're holding it dead straight on, and then your finger rests on that edge, you know, my fingers aren't coming off the end. It's really comfortable. Fills my hand in a way that I think is ergonomically comfortable, and I can aim. The only thing is, you know, and this is true of most Ergos, I can't really reach the furthest forward button. I still think I prefer the side buttons on the EC2, and I definitely prefer the wheel and the cable on the EC2. But I don't know, the thing that's hard to wrap my head around, this is not better built than the Death Adder V2 wired. In fact, I think it's worse built. I think it feels kind of cheap and flimsy, if I'm honest. Like, it's fine. Like, it's fine, you know? But the reason why I don't think I will main it for the long term is just because these mice feel higher quality in the hand to me. And I don't care if they're 20 more grams. Like, that matters more to me, personally. But anyway, I just wanted to make this because I was struck upon reusing them. I don't think I ever touched on that much in my prior videos, the way that they handle their finger ledges and round their edges between these three mice is very different. And this one is my favorite unless you are holding the mouse head on, where this finger is far enough forward to be on the edge. If it is, it feels horrible. And both of these are better. And this one is fine for that. And I actually think has the most comfortable to reach side buttons. But this one feels the least awkward to me when I actually have the finger resting on top of it. So I gotta give this mouse another chance. The cable hurts me inside though. It causes me pain. It's horrible. But anyway, thanks guys. Have a good one.